There are stories that inspire you, and then there are stories that make you question what you're capable of. Our guest today has gone from living on the streets to becoming a multi-time world champion. But what makes her story so powerful isn't just what she's accomplished, it's what she's had to overcome to get there. Welcome back to Rebuild and Fulfill. Real conversations about burnout, rebuilding, and becoming stronger than before. I'm Kelsey Dunbar, here with my co-host Mark Regala, and today's episode is a special one. We're joined here by Inez Carrasquillo, also known as the Dominator, a multi-time world champion strongwoman whose journey is about so much more than strength. From homelessness to navigating life on the autism spectrum to building herself into one of the strongest competitors in the world. Her story is one of resilience, identity, and refusing to let circumstances define her. Inez, we are so glad to have you here. Your story is incredibly powerful. I love it. I love learning more about you. And there's a lot of layers to your story. So I'd love to start at the very beginning. So kind of talking about your early life. What was life like for you growing up?
Yeah, so, grew up in a house, 5 bedrooms with 8 people, 9 people. Like, my grandmother raised me and my 2 sisters. My mom was young and, she had a lot going on, so my grandma took all 3 of us in and, lived in a house with my great uncle, my aunt, my great grandmother, my grandmother, and my sisters and I shared a bedroom and just we made the most of it. I look back and I'm like, I miss the chaos of the house. Cause like it's me, my boyfriend, and my son, and I'm like, wow, I miss like people like yapping all day, like the TV's on, someone's always like around, and like now I kind of look back and I'm like, wow, it's like it's lonely now because I'm like, I wish I had like more people around. But growing up though is horrible because if sharing a room with 2 sisters and I'm the oldest of now 4. So I've always kind of been like the responsible one. I've always kind of been like, you know, always trying to like outshine my sisters, I guess, and always trying to like go above and beyond. But it was hard for me because I I am autistic and I had a lot of like struggles that I always had to like it was harder for me, especially okay, because like I am now 6'1". I am 247 pounds. My sisters, we all have different dads, and my dad was a very tall guy who's 6'10". And my sisters are like 5 foot tall. They're tiny, very small. So like growing up, it was always hard for me to like compare myself to them because like I was always so much bigger. I was always like the more athletic one. I was kind of always like more into like I was in band. I was a big nerd, growing up in like high school, middle school, that type of thing. But very much so like overachiever and always trying to like one up them. And it always like broke me down because I was like, I put so much pressure on myself all the time to be so perfect. And I was like, why am I always in competition with like my sisters? Like we're family, you know what I mean? But that's just how it was growing up in a house like that. So then, yeah, I did volleyball basically my whole life. I was a setter, and then in high school they were like, "Oh no, you're tall. You're a middle blocker now." And I was like, "What? Like I don't know how to play middle blocker." And then I'm like, "I'm bored because we never touch the ball. Like unless it's coming over the net and you get your hands on it, but like that's basically it." And then I did track and field in high school. I was a thrower. I threw shot put and disc. I really fell in love with track. I loved the individual aspect of the sport. Team sports were very hard for me. Getting along with the other girls was very difficult with me because I never felt like I fit in all the time. Uh, I rant a lot, but like I was like I call it like emo scene like in high school, and like I really didn't fit in with like a preppy crowd, and like volleyball's a more preppy sport. So I kind of always like felt like an outcast in high school.
Ines, first of all, thanks for being a guest on our podcast. Kelsey shared a little bit of your story with me, but then we had a chance to chat a little bit before we actually started recording this podcast. A very inspirational story. So again, thank you very much. Um, as Kelsey alluded to in the opening, you face things that a lot of people have never faced before, like homelessness. Can you give us an idea of what that felt like inside internally?
Yeah, so when I started college, I was living with my dad. I moved out of my grandmother's house and moved in with my dad for a little bit, and then just had some issues, like family issues, whatever. And then I moved in with my mom, and then it was difficult because she had to move out. So then I didn't really have anywhere to go after that. So I ended up living in my car, and I was kind of just like on campus living in my car and racking up parking tickets because I didn't have a parking pass in the thing. And I just lived in my car. And then I, there was like an anonymous forum that every like university had. I don't remember, I think it was called like Kick or something like that. Um, but I posted just like, it was, I don't even know what I was thinking, but I was just very depressed, and I was like, I was drinking a lot. I was taking painkillers. I was kinda just, like, taking whatever to just numb, because it was like, I went to class, I was working at Starbucks, not a great job. We were making $7 an hour back then, and then just going back, and I had my car, and then I was just on campus, and I would shower in the locker room. I played volleyball, so I just showered in the locker room. I kinda just was doing whatever I could just to, like, maintain some normalcy. And, then one day I posted on that forum, and it was basically like a call for help. I was just like, "I, like, need a friend right now." I didn't really talk to many people on campus. I kinda was just, like, a little loner because I didn't want people to really know my situation. And this girl, like, reached out. Her name was Naomi, and to this day, I still follow her on Instagram, and I still, like, chat with her randomly. But she was just like, "Hey, come to my dorm, like, and just hang out with me, and we can, like, be friends or whatever." And I was like, "I'll come right now." You know what I mean? I'm on campus. I'll come right now. And then something happened where, like, the dean was notified and of, like, my living situation, and they let me stay on campus the remaining 2 months for free until summer. And they were like, "Hey, summer, like, you're gonna have to find somewhere to go, but you can stay on campus, and we'll give you, like, a meal plan or whatever, and you can just, live on campus the remaining 2 months of class so you could focus on school and not be so stressed out." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." And then they're like, "We'll take care of your parking tickets. We'll, like, help you out or whatever." So, like, I think that reach for help and, like, that call for help was the reason why I, like, stayed in school, because I wanted to drop out at that point because I was like, "I don't know what to do." And I'm like, I've always told myself, like, "You have to go to college. You have to, like, you have to graduate. You can't, you know, just live in your car and, like, work at Starbucks." Like, if you do that, that's totally, like, that's your life. But, like, for me, I was like, "No, I hold myself to this, like, overachieving standard where I'm like, I will graduate by any means necessary. And if that's just living in my car, like, I'll live in my car." I didn't have anything, I didn't even have a phone at the time. Like, I, like, was using the Wi-Fi, and, like, I had, like, an iPod Touch. I think it was, like, one of those really old ones, where you can, like, have some apps or whatever. And then I met my child's father at a random, like, punk show in Chicago. I love metal music. I love punk music, and I met him at one of these shows. And basically, I told him the situation, like, "Hey, like, I only have, like, a month left on campus, like, I don't know what to do." And then his mom, like, let me move in with them. So then I moved to the south side of Chicago, and I was living on by the White Sox field. Is really far from campus because
Yeah.
campus was in suburbs, like, west suburbs. So I moved, to, the south side of Chicago, and was able to just, live out there with them. And I didn't really know him very well, so it was, like, very jarring to, like, move in with somebody you, like, barely know. But I didn't have much of an option at that time. It was a very difficult time for me just because I felt alone, and I still felt alone after moving in because I really didn't know who I was, like, living with, and I was just like, "I need to just stay in school. I need to graduate. I need to just finish this degree." I don't even know, like, I picked psychology as my major, but, like, I didn't really like it that much. I just kind of was just like, "This is the easiest thing for me to do right now because I'm, like, basically failing this class, I'm failing this class." And I was just like, "Whatever, I'm passing psychology, that'll be my major. I just need to finish something?" And then I found art was something that I really like to do, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I can, like, do art therapy." And so I double majored in art and psychology so I could eventually go get my master's and do art therapy. But I didn't finish my master's, so I did all the coursework, and then the internship kinda, like, threw me for a loop because they were like, "Well, you can't have a job. You have to, pick your job or you could do the internship because it's during the day. And I'm like, that's literally when my son was born. So I'm like, it's either I don't have a job or like I take more loans out. And I'm like, I'm already $120,000 in the hole, from loans. I'm like, there's no way I can take more loans out. So I just didn't finish my master's, but very close to finishing. But yeah.
So I know you said about the psychology major, you kind of just picked it. But when you look back at it now, do you think deep down inside, because you were kind of a loner and you're dealing with some depression and you were dealing with some alcohol, do you think that there was something intriguing in your mind about the whole psychology thing and the brain and mind and the body component?
Yeah, I do think there was, some interesting things about psychology, but honestly, the reason why I really stayed with psychology was there was a professor that I loved so much, and she was one of the nicest women I've ever met in my life, and I would go to her office hours, I would hang out with her in her office, and she would just talk about her life, and I would just sit there and listen, and, like, she just reminded me of, like, someone like a family member, you know what I mean? And, like,
Yeah.
she was I would hang out with her and not, like, other people on campus my age, like, because she was so great, and I just remember, like, "Oh, if I take more psychology classes, I will have her in class again." Like, so I had her every single year I was at school. So I was like, this is kind of cool. Like I just get to hang out with her all day. And she made me really, interested in psychology because she was so passionate about it. And I was like, you know what? Like maybe there is something here that like I could learn from. And it's like you don't really learn too much in your bachelor's about psychology. You're kind of just learning like little things here and there. But like she was the one that was like, you could work and she mentioned art therapy and she mentioned school counseling. So she was like, "You would be a great school counselor because I think kids would, like, actually listen to you." And I was like, "You know what? Maybe there's something there." You know what I mean? Like, I have a lot of life experience and whatever, and then so school counseling was something I thought about, but it it was just hard for me to picture myself anywhere else except with the safe spot that I found in her. So I think that's a big reason why I stayed into that major.
Okay.
Um, all right. So you shared that you're on the autism spectrum. How has that shaped the way you experience the world and approach challenges?
So I do approach them cautiously, but I've grown a ton in the last like 5 years alone of just starting strongman. I People are like, "Oh, you're media trained now." And I'm like, "No, it's just me being comfortable around the people that I've been around for years." Like I've competed with the same girls for the last 3 years. And like compared to like let's say like Arnold 2023 was my first big pro show, and I remember the day before we did media. I was not ready for that. And they were like, "We couldn't pull like anything out of you because you were so nervous." And I'm like, "I just didn't know what to say, I'm kind of like I'm scared." And then like this year, it's the same guy I've been talking to the last 4 years, and we just had he was able to get so many sound bites for me, just like I was able just to chat with him, and I'm like, "It's just because I'm comfortable around you now." You know what I mean? But, like, I start off in a shell, and it's like a defense mechanism too, I think, because of, like, things that I've been through. Like, you start off kinda, like, quiet and shy, but, like, once you get to know me, like, you'll see, like, the social media side of me where I'm, like, having fun, like, I talk to anybody, like but that's something I've had to, like, really learn how to do because I've kind of always been a little bit of an outsider, like, growing up and, like, very quiet, kinda shy, kinda reserved, and, like, I I told myself, I was like, "If you wanna be somebody in this sport, you're gonna have to get over that and be uncomfortable, and you have to, like, show that other side of you that not everyone gets to see, but people wanna see that." And so I talk to my mom a lot. My mom and I are like best friends, and she's just like, "Hey, if you're nervous about something, you call me, I'll hype you up and like just go do it?" And my mom's always been like someone like that for me where I'm just like, "Hey mom, like I have to do this today." Like I literally called her before this podcast and I was like, "I have a podcast today." Like, and she's like, "All right, go kill it. Like, don't be afraid, just talk." Just she's like, pretend you're talking to me. And, growing up, like, I even had, like, a teacher aide, like, in, like, kindergarten and 1st grade, I had a teacher that had to sit with me all day because like, that's when, like, I got the diagnosis, and they would just hang out with me all day to make sure I didn't have, like, a meltdown or something. They never explained to me what they were doing, but I was like, I'm the kid with the adult next to me, like, what is that for? But she was, like, my best friend, and I just got to hang out with her all day, And then I've had speech therapy. I remember going to speech therapy once a week through high school. Um and just like fixing I have a really bad lisp and like it's better though. It's gotten to a point where like I don't really notice it, but like sometimes I'll talk fast and I'm like, "Oh, I hear it." Um but yeah, like speech therapy and then like I was always in like counseling. I was in like a group in high school where like I think there was like 12 to 15 girls in the group where like we kind of just like talked every week. We kind of just like hung out and like it was like a safe spot for us because like a lot of us were like either on the spectrum or like we were just like outcasts. We were like outsiders. We were just like whatever. And it was kind of cool just to be there and just like talk openly with people. And then I didn't feel like I was judged about anything, you know? Um, and then playing sports was hard because like I hated being in front of people. So volleyball was very difficult because it was a team sport. So I'm like, I have to get over this because I have five other girls right now relying on me. And I can't be afraid to like make a mistake because I'm gonna make a mistake then, you know? And then but track, it was I'm by myself. Whatever I do is what I do. No one can tell me otherwise, you know? And I kind of liked that because I was like, no one has to rely on me. If I have a meltdown, I could just go to the bathroom and not do my throw, you know what I mean? But my track coach, Dempsey, like he always pushed me to be a better athlete. He always tried to get me out of my shell. And he always called me out. Always. Like you're not working hard enough. I know you're not working hard enough because I seen what you can do. And I love that about him because like he didn't let me have an excuse. You know what I mean? I feel like people that like we have a lot of life circumstances and stuff, like we could fall into a victim mentality where it's like, well, whatever, I went through this, so like whatever happens, happens. But it's like, no, if you have that mentality, you will never, ever fulfill your life. You will never hit anything that you're aspiring to because you fell into a pit and you're just like, whatever, like I'm not gonna reach for any hands because I'm just here now. You know, it's a comfortable spot. And so Dempsey was someone that was always like, no, get out of that hole. You're gonna go into the weight room, you're gonna complain about it, but I'm gonna make sure that you finish it. And I'm not gonna let you have an excuse as to why you're not gonna do it, you know? And that's kind of how my coach is now. It's just like, hey, I know you're going through it right now, or like, you know, because last year was one of the worst years of my life. And I went through hell and back to get to like the spot that I'm in now where I am so happy. I am so, you know, content with how things are going. But my coach was like, hey, I know you're going through it. You know, you're having a lot of issues, you know, with your ex coach, whatever. And he's like, you're going to have no more excuses anymore. He's like, you're going to be safe. I'm going to make sure nothing happens to you, but you have to put in the work. You have to go to the gym. You can't sit at home and cry about things. And I'm going to push you to be a better athlete. And so when we won Rogue together, that was like one of the biggest moments of my life because I was just like, this is my second Rogue title, but I did it through everything that I went through. When people were like, "Oh, she's she's done. She's not going to come back," and I was almost going to retire after Arnold last year. And so they were just like, "Oh, well, she's done, whatever. This will be her last show and she'll be done." And then I was just like, "No, like I do want to come back, but I just don't feel like whatever." And he was just like, "No, that is your victim mindset. Like you have to get out of that. You have to push through and you have to be strong. That's it. At the end of the day, be strong. Be strong, if not for you, for your son." And that's when I was like, you know what? Let's go. Let's do this prep. Let's go crush it. And he's like, you can win again. You can win again. And I was just like, if you think I can win, I'll suck it up and I'm gonna do my best. And then I won that title. And then I didn't win Arnold this year, but Arnold was I have to say it's my favorite show that I've ever participated in. Even though I didn't win, I didn't get anything. You know what I mean? I got second place by a point and a half, but I literally had foot surgery December 1st on my foot. I had a broken foot at Rogue, and I had surgery to repair my tendon. And they were like, "You might come back in a year." And I was like, "No, I'm going to come back in March and I'm going to compete at the Arnold." And they were like, "What?" They're like, "No, like you're going to have to like rest. You have to stay off your foot." And I'm like, "You find a way to get me back to the Arnold in March." I'm like, "I'm not asking. I'm telling you guys, like, get me back to this point where I can compete in March." And, you know, my boyfriend was there with me at the Arnold and my coach was there. This was the first competition that my mom got to go to in person. My son was there, my friends were there, like my whole like my team that I coached, they came out to support me. They came and surprised me and were like, "Hey, we're here, we're in the stands." Like, and I was like, "You guys paid money to come watch me? That's crazy." And so it was just the best vibes I've ever had at a show. Like I just had so much fun. We were making content all weekend with like Angelica and Olga and everybody, Jackie. And it was just, my boyfriend's been one of the greatest supports of my life. And like he literally just like I just felt like I could just be me. I didn't have to worry about anything, and I had fun. And like when I messed up the deadlift, I didn't make my last deadlift. I didn't go back there and cry about it. I literally was just like, oh, next time. The fact that I deadlifted 581 pounds after foot surgery and had 6 weeks of prep, that's
Yeah.
pretty freaking cool. And like they put in perspective in me. They were like, you didn't, this wasn't a loss. Like you came back so fast and you lost to Olga. Okay. Like losing to Olga is like, it's an honor. You know what I mean? Olga's been here for so many years and she's the best. Like, so it's not like you went to a novice show and a novice like kicked your butt. Like, it's like you lost against one of the goats of strong women. So it just helped to have all those people with me. And I never once was just like, oh, what was me? It was like, no, I had a moment where I did get emotional because, yeah, getting second is kind of a hit because I won the last 4 in a row. So it was a hit to like my ego, because I was like, damn, they called me the Dominator, but I didn't win this show. So is my nickname gone? But they're like, no, you're not the Dominator because you're winning shows. You won 3 out of 6 events. It's a point system. You know what I mean? Like it sucks, but at the end of the day, like you're winning 3 out of 6 events, but you're also like, you came back from surgery. You came back from like all these situations. Like you broke your face in 2024 and you came back the next day with a big old puffy face and you competed in front of everybody and you didn't let that slow you down? So it's like it puts in perspective like why I have that nickname and I'm like, I'm gonna wear that nickname with pride.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you're dominating your life. That
Yes.
I look at it that way. You can be called the dominator just because of everything that you've been through and the way that you are dominating your life and your place in this world. So I would never let anybody take that away from you, wins, losses, or whatever. So
Yeah.
I want to put that out there. So just before we completely, turn the page to all the amazing success that you've had, I just want to say if you were going to look back at, say, the lowest point of what you've been through and think about what is the biggest thing in your life that you would consider to be a turning point. Like what started to shift things? Was it is a mindset thing, something that actually happened to you where you said that was the day I made up my mind? How would you answer that one?
So I kind of have like two of those. So the first one was literally the day I found out that I was pregnant really shifted everything for me. I was 21 years old. I'm young. I'm like, I'm not in a great financial situation. I'm in Chicago just trying to make rent. And now I'm like, I'm going to have a baby. And I was due literally like 2 months after graduation. So I'm still in college. And I went to a Lutheran university. So they did not like me walking around campus pregnant, not married, and covered in tattoos. And I was not very welcomed at that point in my life at that university. But like, I was like, I need to walk across that stage, but like I need to stop doing the reckless things that I was doing. I was going to concerts every weekend, just drinking, and I was drinking almost every day at that point. It was just like there's beer in the fridge, I'm gonna finish all of them. Like if I see a bottle of wine, I'm gonna drink the whole bottle. Like there was no stop. It was just go, 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 go all the time. And the roommates at the time too, same situation. We were just drinking and doing whatever. And that was cool at that time because I'm 21. I can do whatever I want. I'm unstoppable. I'm untouchable. And then it was the painkillers, and then it was smoking weed, and it was smoking cigarettes, and it was just like always something. And it was always looking for that high. It was always looking for like something to just like make me forget about every little issue that I had in my life. It was mostly financial issues. When you are broke, you will do anything to feel something other than the despair of, am I going to be homeless again? Am I going to lose my house? Am I going to have to lose this? What is going to happen to me? So it just constant, like at shows, they would just be like, hey, take this. I'd be like, all right, cool. I'll take it. I didn't care. I was just like, whatever. And when you're 21, you think nothing bad can ever happen to me. You know what I mean? I'm just going to get high and then I'm just going to go home and whatever. I'm going to wake up the next day, feel perfectly fine. And most of the time, that's what happened. And then I found out that I'm pregnant. And then what did I do? Cold turkey. everything. I did not smoke a cigarette, did not drink again. The withdrawals from not drinking and smoking with first trimester pregnancy symptoms almost put me in the hospital. Like I was crying. I lost so much weight. I was just like at one point I was just like put a bullet on my head and just end it. Like I can't do this, you know? And then, I wasn't really, close with my mom at the time and like my sister and stuff. Like it was just like I felt like I had nobody. But then, it started slowly getting better, slowly, whatever. And I was like, I just need to finish college. I need to finish. I need to finish. I need to stay at my job. I was a manager at a gelato place downtown Chicago and wasn't making a ton of money, but I was like a manager. So I made a little bit more money, you know, and I was just like, I need to save up money. I need to do something because like I cannot bring a child into this world and just be like completely broke, you know? I don't have anything. I don't have any assets. I don't what am I I'm literally doing the situation of like how I grew up. I didn't want the same thing, I didn't want to like have absolutely nothing ready, and that's kind of like how it was. Um and then the second moment of for me that like changed my life was when my son was around 2 or 3. I was around 330 something pounds and I gained a ton of weight. I replaced like alcohol and stuff with like binging. I would eat all day, wouldn't do anything. I wasn't exercising. I used my C-section as an excuse not to do anything. I was like, "Oh, well, I had a C-section. I can't do this." And my doctor was like, "Well, you're pre-diabetic. You have hypertension." She's like, "You're not going to see your son grow up." And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa!" Because my dad was diabetic. My dad was on dialysis, and my dad did die 2 years ago, and he was only 48. So it's like I was like seeing my dad sick, seeing other people in my family, get sick, cancer, all this stuff. I'm like, I need to change something like now. So literally the next day I signed up for LA Fitness and I would go at 4 a.m. Didn't know what I was doing. I was literally trying to do old track workouts that I was like trying to remember in my head. And I'm like, I don't remember what I'm doing. I'm just like messing around with the machines and stuff. I'm just trying to do some cardio. I was like, I need to just do something because if I just do nothing, my doctor's like, "You're gonna die. Like, you're not gonna be able to see your son grow up." And that scared me. That was like a huge wake up call for me. And so I started going to the gym. I did some like squats and stuff one day. And I just remember this girl coming up to me and she was like, "You should power lift." And I was like, I don't even know what that is and why. You know what I mean? Like it's 4 a.m. I come early so no one bothers me. I was terrified of people like looking at me in the gym. Didn't want anybody to approach me. I was very shy. I was like, don't talk to me. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll try a sport or something. I don't know. Like maybe that'll like keep my interest peaked. So then I signed up for a gym in Chicago called Rockwell, and they're a powerlifting gym. They specialize in powerlifting. And I just remember walking in, and my friend, who at the time he didn't know me, but he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, if any other coach tries to take you, tell him to f off. Like you're mine." And I was like, "Is this like a cult? Like what is going on? Like what am I?" I was like, "I guess I'll hire you as a coach. Like what does that even mean? I don't even know what this is. I don't know what powerlifting is at all." He's like, "It's squat, bench, deadlift. Done. You're mine." And I was like, "All right." He's like, "See you in an hour. Just do your workout, and I'll talk to you then." So then I just remember him saying, "All right, I'm gonna start programming for you." Like he's like, "You're a big girl. I can make you really strong." And I was like, "My maxes are not anywhere you think are where they're supposed to be." I was like, "I'm squatting maybe 225. My deadlift was even worse because I had no idea what I was doing." And so I started working with him. He would come in at like 4 or 5 a.m., because I needed to be like by myself in the gym, and he would come coach me. And then my friend Audrey, she would come in too at like 5 a.m. and we would work out together. And they were just like my little safe spot where I was like, I feel good. I'm getting strong. And like, I wasn't really losing any weight. I was gaining muscle and stuff, but like powerlifting's not like the most cardio driven sport. You're kind of just like moving the barbell a few times and calling it a day. But I learned the mechanics of, you know, how to lift. I learned how to deadlift. I learned how to do things the proper way. And I was gaining confidence again. I had zero confidence when I started. So then I did my first powerlifting meet. I almost bombed out because I forgot that kilos and pounds were different. I thought they were the same thing. So I went up on my next squat by like 20 kilos and not pounds. And that was a big mistake. And I missed my third squat because I was just way too high. And then I just remember being like, "Oh, this was cool." Like I miss like the competing side of me, like that I haven't had in a very long time. And then I did another competition. I actually got best lifter at 300 pounds body weight. I won best lifter at the show, which was I've never heard of that. I've never heard of a heavyweight women getting best lifter. It's a dots formula, so we're not programmed to win shows. And then I did my final powerlifting comp the next year after COVID, kind of like ended some restrictions. They had like a big power pro am at Surge actually. And I totaled 1,450 pounds, which at the time was the 11th all time women's total in history in rats. And then I was like, I quit. I literally said, I quit. I'm done. I totaled what I wanted. I want to try strongman now. And then I was like, but is Matt gonna hate me? That was my powerlifting coach. And Matt was like, dude, you're built to do strongman. He's like, try it, see if you like it. I support you any way that you want to go. And I tried strongman. I competed 2 weeks after that in a little local strongman comp. And it was just like history from there. I fell in love with it. I'm like, I love this stuff. Like everything's always different. So I'm never getting bored. Powerlifting, I got bored because I'm like, okay, I'm squatting, I'm benching, I'm deadlifting, squatting, benching, deadlifting. Strongman, it's like every show is different. So you can't get bored because like one show you'll have dumbbell, the next show you have log. One comp you have keg over bar, the next show you got sandbag to shoulder. You just never know what you're gonna get. And I like that. I like the variety, and I like that I'm constantly learning something. Cause like something about me is I always have to be learning because once I like feel like I'm an expert in something, I'm like, I quit. I want to try something else. So like with strongman, I'm always telling my coach, like, hey, challenge me. If I say I know, ask me why I know. And then if it's a dumb answer, call me out on it and tell me why it is the way it is. I'm like, I'm not a perfectionist by any means at anything. Like I have a world record in log, but there's always things I can improve on. I watched that video of my world record log and I'm like, my back leg is straight. I was supposed to bent that leg. It is not looking good. Like the form was way off, and I'm always trying to like fix things and tweak things. My deadlift is not great, but we're always tweaking it. We're always fixing it. And I like that we're constantly like evolving into a better athlete every single year. I bring a better package. Powerlifting, I feel like I couldn't do that. So yeah, those were my two moments.
Early in your story, okay, when you were talking about coming off the foot injury, okay, and you wanted to compete in March, and even though you didn't win, okay, you focused on the progress and the obstacles that you overcame, right? With your struggles in life early on, with all the hardships you were facing, I've probably heard a number of times, Kelsey, brain set resets or reframing and trying to focus on the positives, right? Okay. We've talked about that before in previous podcasts. When you talk about always striving to get better, I referenced a coach that I had about, he would always tell me satisfaction's the first step to failure and
Hmm.
that complacency kills. Okay. I'm hearing that in you as well. You have a constant drive of wanting to be better every single day. So that's the point I really want to make here, Kelsey, as we get into the next question is, and I know you're going to be talking about discipline here or rituals or what have you. Okay. But I mean, literally, these are the principles of the book playing out that she's living, but she's never read the book.
We'll have to fix that.
Yes.
Seriously. I mean, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of what you are doing internally is like what we preach when we talk when Kelsey's working with somebody, trying to struggle with some eating addictions and underlying mental health. And quite frankly, it's the same things that I preach, when I'm talking to somebody that's struggling with mental health and dealing with some type of addictive tendency or alcohol tendency. It's the exact same thing.
Hmm.
Mindset, be better than yesterday. The only person you're competing against is the person you were yesterday. Just try to move the needle a little bit. Focus on the positives. Focus on the growth.
Yeah, 100%. And I preach a lot to like, especially like my athletes, to just like that victim mindset because I feel like a lot of, especially now, because I was telling the world is like on fire right now. So it's easy just to fall into a mindset of like, you know what, the world's on fire. I'm on fire. I don't care. I'm going to just woes me. But I tell my athletes too, and I'm just like, it's not woes me anymore. Take control of it and like figure something out. I'm like, utilize me, utilize your family, you have your friends, you have your team. Like my team's called the Immortals. My 19-year-old athlete came up with it. He's the best. And like he's constantly always on my ass about stuff too. He'd be like, "No, you're the dominator. Like, I don't want to hear any complaining from you." And I'm like, "This 19-year-old's telling me I need to get my shit together, so I'm gonna get my shit together." Um, but like when you have that mindset, you're stuck. You're absolutely stuck. And it's so easy to stay stuck in that mindset. And I just think that like nowadays it's just like a default. And it's like it's just easy to fall into and it's a safe spot, that a lot of people fall into. And my coach and my boyfriend, like my mom, like they won't let me sit in that anymore. They're like, like we saw you in world titles. You think you're gonna sit here and cry on the couch because you're sad about something? Like, absolutely not. Like, go to the gym, don't skip your session, go eat a meal, drink your water, like go do something, go get your hair, go do something. Cause like you're not gonna sit in that mentality where you're just like sad and like depressed anymore. Like, I'm off all my depression medication. I am off my Klonopin because I did have a pretty bad, like, I don't want to say like addiction to Klonopin, but like I would just when I was anxious, just whatever. I fell asleep behind the wheel 2 years ago because I was so medicated and I literally
Yeah.
crashed to a semi truck. Like $14,000 of damage to my car, nothing to the semi. Semi was perfectly fine. I got very lucky. And
Yeah.
I was like, that was a wake up call too. Cause I'm like, I'm always tired. I'm always drowsy. I'm always like numb. I'm always like, you know, I'm miserable, and like and this is not helping me. It's making it worse. I'm dependent. That's the word I was looking for. I'm dependent on it.
Yeah.
And whenever something happened, I would just pop another one, just whatever. Like I'll be chill in 20 minutes, and it's like, no, you gotta like learn how to deal with it. And I'm 32 and I'm still figuring it out. But like you have to learn how to deal with it. You have to figure out a way to mentally cope with things. When I had my foot surgery, I thought I was done. I thought it was going to be whatever. I won't be a top 10 girl anymore. They're going to forget about me. I'm going to be nobody. And I would cry about it. And my friends were like, stop crying about it. You're going to be back. They're like, you're going to be back sooner than you think. And stop being a victim. Like, you hurt yourself and you still won the competition. You did 3 events on a broken foot.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's gonna stop you. You know what I mean? If they say you can't come back in March, but you feel fine, you're still gonna go. And I still went, you know? And they're like, only you can stop you at this point. And that was just, if I didn't have those people in my life, that pushed me, I would fall into that mentality too.
And then the other thing too is, you were talking about how people thought you were done and so forth, right? You hear those whispers, and I don't know how you are, because I heard the whispers that I'm never going to beat, addiction and I'm going to end up dead and all that stuff. And then I started making some progress. I don't know how you are, but with me, I still hear those voices and those words of doubt, and literally that motivates me. I want those people to eat
Feel,
those
yeah.
words.
Oh, 1000%. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna come back even stronger." Like, I'm gonna come back and make a statement. And,
Yep.
I the buzzer rang for that stone to shoulder event, right? But I still finished that last rep. I didn't get it, but I still finished it because I'm like, I'm making a statement here. I made a statement with the world record dumbbell. I made a statement running up that ramp 3 times with those sandbags and not falling. Everyone thought they're like, oh, ha, Inez is gonna fall because I
Yeah.
always trip. I'm clumsy. I trip all the time. But I was like, I'm gonna win that event, and they were like, no, you're not. And I was like, watch me. I'm gonna win that event. And all the podcasts and all these like people talking about predictions, they were like, maybe like top 5, maybe like 5th on this event. Blah, blah, blah. No, I won 3 out of 6 events with a still jacked up foot. And that was my motivation was people were like, who knows, her training looks good, but can she put it together? She's only got 6 weeks training under her belt. Like all these other girls had longer time, but I just didn't use it as an excuse. And my coach did not let me use it as an excuse. And what I love about my coach too is like he's like, "Olga deserved it 1000%." And he's like, "So that is your fire to deserve it the next time." He's like, "You're just gonna work harder next time." He's like, "If we have a 5-week prep, you're gonna work harder in those 5 weeks and you have, the other girls have 10 weeks, whatever." He's like, "Whatever you have to do, you have to do it." And he's like, "If you want to be on top, you love winning." I do love winning. It's not fun to
Mm.
lose, it's fun to win. And he's like, "You want to stay winning, you gotta have that mindset, and you have to have that drive, and you have to do it yourself. There's no one that's gonna force you to go to the gym. There's no one that's gonna force you to do your accessories. No one's gonna force you to eat your meals." And I'm like, it's all me, it's what people can tell you all day, all night. You got this, like we can do this together, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it. So you have to want to do it.
All right, so I have to ask this in a particular way because, like, when you talk about doing the strongman competitions, you don't say the strong woman competitions. You say the strongman competitions because it alludes to a particular type of training and competition,
Mhm.
and you talk about it as if it's non-gender specific. And I think that a lot of times women have that mindset in sports where they're like, I don't want to hear that I'm a good athlete for a woman, or I'm
Mhm.
a strong competitor for a woman. I look at the lifts that you do, and I can never dream in 3 lifetimes you add all my weights together and it wouldn't be what you can lift. And I've been a fitness coach for over 30 years. I've been working out for 40 years, and I can never even sniff anywhere close to what you do and never have been able to. So I certainly would never want to put a limit on you in terms of saying, you're strong for a woman. So I just want to start with that. But you inspire women. So
Mhm.
I want you to address the question in that way, to say, what is it that you would like to say to any woman that is watching this podcast for inspiration, and to tell them if they're struggling with something, how would you inspire them to get through it and to persevere based on your own experience?
Honestly, you have to make a plan, stick to the plan, and just find ways of staying motivated. Make small goals. I'm very goal driven. That's a autism. Like you have to have goals, you have to have structure, right? And I always tell myself if I do this on this day and I did all my workouts by this day, I can do this on Saturday. I can go out because I did all my workouts, or I can go do this with my son, or I can do this. So you kind of like find goals, kind of like set things for yourself. But at the end of the day, you have to be okay with taking up space and you have to be okay with being unapologetic about it. Because I've been told so many years, oh, she's let herself go, or she's big, or she's this, like she looks like a man. That's a man, that's a dude, like that's not a woman. Like women are supposed to be like this and blah blah blah. They're gonna tell you, like, oh, you can't lift weights, that's manly. You can't lift weights, like women are not supposed to do this stuff. But it's like you have to say, no, like I'm allowed to do whatever the hell I want and I can be just as strong as you. And look, like the pro men are like they're so cool with us. Like they support us. They watch us. Like I am friends with so many of them, and like they're always like lifting us up and like trying to help us. And like they have a ton of followers, so they're always like reposting stuff and like trying to like help us out a little bit here and there because like there's still to this day people that on YouTube they're like, "Oh, well, if I did that competition, I could do that if I," and it's like, "Come against me. Like I'd love to see you try." Like, I it's always a so I find it weird. This is a little sideway. People are always like, "Oh, I could do that," right? But like if they said that about like they wouldn't say that about like Thor or like Brian Shaw. Like, but it's like as strong women, men in like comments are always like, "Oh, well, she only did that because of so and so." It's usually like the steroid comment or like, "Oh, she's because she does this." And it's like, you would never challenge Thor. Like, so why are you challenging a woman? It's the opposite gender of you, first of all. And biologically, we're completely different. Like, so why is it so hard for you to accept that like we could do something really cool and you're like, I can't watch this. This is disgusting. And it's like, we're doing things that like they told women that we were never going to be able to do. You know, when I started powerlifting, a 500-pound deadlift was like, whoa, you are elite, you are whatever. Now Lucy Underdown is pulling 700 and something pounds. She just pulled 700 on the elephant bar. Every single year the women are getting stronger. When the world record for log when I started was like 275, I bumped it to 321.4. We're hitting over 300 pounds. I would love to be the woman to touch 400 on the log one day. And I told my coach that is my ultimate goal is a 400-pound log and a 400-pound axle. And I think I will be the first woman in history to do that because I am psychotic. And when I put my mind to something, like I will do it. Like once I told my coach about it, he was like, let's do it. Like, let's go. and he's my biggest supporter. So it's like he's going to support that dream, but there's no limit anymore. And like women have to understand, like, the only limits that you have are the ones you put on yourself. And, growing up, in high school and stuff, it was hard for me to weight train because it was like women shouldn't get bulky, women shouldn't, get muscular, women shouldn't have blah blah blah. And now it's like I want the biggest traps that you've ever seen on a person. Like I have humongous legs. Like I want to be giant. I don't fit into women's clothing usually because, I'm too big, but like we make it work, I wear t-shirts, I'm fine. But it's like don't put limitations on yourself because of the way we were raised. And right now, I want to say this because it's been on my mind literally for the last few weeks. I lost 40 pounds since December, since my surgery, because I was on the couch for 2 months, not eating enough, not going to the gym because my foot was broken, whatever. And I've gotten so many comments like, oh, you look so good. Like, you're so skinny, like, so this. And I'm like, don't say that word to me. I don't like that word. Like, I need to be big. Like, my sport is like, you need to be strong and you need to be big. I don't want to just be like skinny, but in the world of like everyone's trying to be so skinny. We have Ozempic, we have
Yeah.
all this, stuff to like help us get to that point, and people are abusing it, and like, people are just like bring back like the muscle, bring back like hard work in the gym, bring back like following a nutrition plan, bring back like women taking up big space and like being strong and like I feel like skinny should turn into being strong, and like strong is different on everybody. I'm not saying go to like you're a 5'1" woman, 100 pounds, go deadlift 500 pounds. I'm saying go do something that like weight train in general. You know what I mean? You try CrossFit, try high rocks. You're talking about high rocks, like try powerlifting, try something, just do something. It's just like this diet culture kills me because it's like I used to get so many comments about my body and stuff, and then now it's just like, "Oh, you look great," like, blah, blah, and it's like, I need to gain weight, so stop telling me that, you know what I mean? It's hard to, like, swallow, because like, you feel good and you're like, "Oh, like, I look good," but in this sport, and being strong, like, sometimes you have to be bigger, and, people making comments about your body all the time, like, it's hard to hear that all the time, you know?
So what's your favorite exercise?
My favorite is probably a front squat. I don't think anybody in the world will ever say that, but front squats are my absolute favorite.
Okay.
Hey,
I know
Kelsey.
somebody that would actually say that. Kelsey
Yeah.
knows him too. Our buddy Joe. He's a front.
Everything in strongman is front loaded. So front squats are a great exercise for strongman because you're always picking up something off the ground and standing up with it. So if
Okay.
you can work your front squats really heavy, like you're gonna find sandbags, stones, so many things a lot easier.
What's your strongest exercise?
Overhead in general, just any overhead. I've hit a 385 barbell off the blocks. I've hit a 330 log. I've hit a 195 dumbbell in competition now. So, like, overhead's, like, my specialty. I got short arms. It's cheating. I have T-Rex arms, so, like, it's not a lot of distance to go up, but I I
There's
love
nothing
overhead.
about that
You're
that sounds like cheating.
There's a girl, her name is Jackie. She's Jackie Ocheski. She's always just, like she'll stand next to me and just hold her arms out, and they're, like, a whole foot longer than mine, and I'm like, "Sorry." Like, I wish I had your arms for deadlifting, you know what I mean? That'd make my life so much easier, but no. But overheads, like I love split jerking. I love the explosive, like Olympic lifts. I love sandbags. I love stone. I love strongman. I love how weird it is. I love how it's kind of just like, how can you most efficiently move this object to do what the rules say? You know what I mean? And like, I like how you can play outside the rules a little bit. I like how you can kind of like, well, they didn't say we couldn't use this, so I'm going to try it like this. Or like, it's a fun sport and it's been around for so long because it is fun. And strongman is for everybody. Like, you see the things that we do and you're like, I could never be like a strong woman. I could never do strongman. But then there are novice classes, like it shows. I run shows in Chicago and there's novice classes. I make the weights very, very manageable and like it's just fun. And you can train pretty much like any gym. You can like alter a lot of stuff to like get used to like different implements, but like the gym I go to doesn't have everything. So I kind of like travel around. I go to Wisconsin sometimes. Like my friends in Wisconsin built power stairs, so I'd be able to do power stairs a few times per rogue. So like I drive 2.5 hours up north to just do an event, So like if there's a will, there's a way though. you know?
absolutely. And then I got one more final question. You mentioned the Klonopin, and we talked about the mental health, and we talked about, way back when, the drinking and all that stuff. Um, do you feel that weightlifting helps you with your mental health? Kind of keeps you in check? Do you kind of view it as therapy?
Yeah, and I do tell people though, I'm like, don't use the gym as your therapy. Don't like use it as a supplement if you need it.
Absolutely.
Like use it as a supplement, but it's always good to just have something for yourself, you know? And I
Yeah.
tell moms, I tell like, try to just go twice a week if you can, because it's just a nice break from like life. You know what I mean? Like you put your headphones in, you kind of just like do your
Yep.
thing for an hour or two. It doesn't have to be complicated, you know, and you just escape the world for a little bit. And that's like your quiet time. But I'm like, don't replace actual, psychiatric help or like, if you need more help, like, of course, go seek a professional, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
like, the gym is such a great supplement to all those extra things. And once you start hitting goals, once you start hitting, you're losing weight, you're gaining muscle, or whatever your goals are, like, those help you stay on track with everything else. Because if you are like, I need to stop drinking, and you're like, "Well, I gotta go to the gym on Saturday. I can't go out because if I go out on Friday, I won't be able to go to the gym next day." Those are little things that, like, push you in that right direction, you know?
Mhm.
Like, I we went completely, like, sober, like, not drinking on weekends for my last prep, and my boyfriend and I did it together, and I was like, "It's so nice waking up on Sunday and being able just to go to the gym and not be hungover or, like, you know what I mean? Or,
Yep.
like, feel sick or, like, whatever," and I was like, "We should do that for every prep," you know?
Right.
And that was a big thing this prep was just, like, we went from New Year's Eve all the way to almost St. Patrick's Day, and it was just, like, we feel good. We're working out on Sunday, we're, like, hustling, we're moving, like, it feels good, and, like, we have a full night, we have a full day, like, we didn't miss it, you know what I mean? And I think
So,
that's really cool and that's special to do it together, and, but if you have those gym goals, like, you're not thinking about the other stuff because 'cause you're like, I'm starting to feel good about myself," and, like, you're
yeah.
using that to kinda, like, fill those voids you had, with other things, like, I say, like, try art, try music, try whatever, like, it doesn't have to be the gym, it could be anything, but you have to fill those little voids, like, all that, and just have something for yourself. Otherwise, what's the point, you know?
Yeah, I think it helps you with your overall self-esteem. I think people,
Yes.
that struggle with addiction or struggle with mental health, they got some esteem issues, maybe because of some shame and guilt and things like that. So it certainly helps with that. And then I completely agree. Some people meditate, some people draw, some people are self-taught, musicians, that's their therapy or that's therapeutic for them.
Mhm.
For me, going to the gym and I'm an early guy, 4:30 in the morning, put the
Not
earbuds
anymore.
in. Well, I gotta go to work. So,
I used
so
to go after work. Ugh.
yeah, but getting up early, putting the earbuds in, I like working out by myself. That's just me. It's just me and the bar and getting my thoughts together for the day. It's like it's
Yeah,
quiet time. I don't, it's
it's
very
quiet.
therapeutic for me.
And we need that, especially like former addicts. Like, you need something to fill that time because then it
100%.
goes back into like, oh, well, I have time. Maybe I can go to, maybe I'll go hang out with a friend I haven't seen in a while. And that friend used to be the guy you used to like drink with, or like, and it's like, no, 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 no. Like, I have a goal. I want to go to the gym tomorrow. I want to do that. It's
Yeah.
not a maybe I'll go. It's like, no, that's my goal. That is what I want to do. Structure your week that way, and I tell like I have a few like clients that are like struggling with nutrition right now. And they work with my girl Sheb, who's an actual nutritionist, but like they'll come to me and be like, I'm really struggling. And I'm like, hey, prep your meals for the next 3 days. You know, do 3 days at a time. If you can do 3 days, you're gonna be so proud of yourself. You're gonna wake up on that third day and be like, let me prep the next 3 days. It doesn't have to be, I gotta prep the whole week. I gotta prep all this stuff. I gotta do just start with 3 days
Yeah.
and just be consistent. And if you are consistent for those 3 days, you're gonna be so proud of yourself that you did 3 days that you're gonna want to continue to do it. And then they're like, hey, I prepped the last 3 days and I woke up the next and I was like, I'm ready to go prep the next three. And I'm like, exactly. Like that is it's just like going to the gym. If you have never been to the gym before, it's overwhelming. There's a lot of people usually there. There's music, there's loud, it's a very, it's not very good for like neurospicy people like me, but you get used to it. But I had to start off at like 4 a.m. where there's nobody there. And then you slowly transition to a time that you can go to, but you just got to get used to it. You got to give yourself, little tiny, like, I'm going to go for the next 2 days. I'm going to do my upper and my lower split. Done. And then the next week, maybe I'll add in a third day. And then the next week, you're like, okay, I can get up to 4 days now. And I scheduled it and I'm going after work. And then, it's like you just have to make it a habit.
Yep. Habit that becomes a lifestyle, right?
It becomes a lifestyle.
Hey, Kelsey, you could just get me and you out of it and just play the footage of Venus just talking, talking, talking because there's so many friggin' sound bites in here. It's unbelievable.
Tons. So, but I want to say this. I want neurodivergent to be transferred into neurospicy. I love it. We'll just say neurospicy from now on, not neurodivergent.
Yeah, we're
It's
spicy.
this is
Yeah.
2026. It's neurospicy. That's it from now on. All right, that was cool. I love that. As I told you before, my son has Asperger's, so we've been working with him in the spectrum his whole life, and so there's obviously challenges there, and so I'm glad that you brought to life that the struggle that you went through, but the way that you worked through it, the way that you almost used it as a superpower, so to speak, to help you to focus and to really kind of hone in on the thing that makes you you. And this sport, it's kind of like what Mark and I say all the time, in the fact that what we've been through, what we've gone through, really was training to be who we were meant to be. And that's the people who we are now, helping a lot of other people. And your sport was no coincidence. Everything that you described about your sport and what you like about it, it suits your personality, it suits your upbringing, it suits the things that you used to do that brought you joy, and now it's just culminated into this sport that you found that you're like, I'm home.
Mhm.
It's not just your happy place, it's your home.
It is.
This sport is you couldn't have created a better sport for yourself from what I'm hearing from everything you've been through. So that's pretty awesome. So, but I certainly do not want to end the interview tonight without giving you a chance to tell people who are listening, who are connecting with your story, how to follow you, how to learn more about you, and anything else that you want to do as far as giving shout outs. I know you're a sponsored athlete, which is super, super cool. So anything that you want to do to let people know where they can find you or give a shout out to anyone that you need to.
Yeah, I am on Instagram chronically. Inez underscore pro strongwoman. And then my email is on there too. So if you're just like, hey, I don't think my DM will be seen, it probably will, but you can email me too. A lot of inquiries like about coaching or whatever. Like I do coach. So if you're looking for coaching, I am taking athletes. And then you can just email me or Instagram DM me, whatever. I'll probably see it in the next day. And then just like I am actually picking back up my YouTube channel. So like slowly but surely, we're gonna get some YouTube content out. We're gonna do some like day in the lives and just like some like fun stuff at the gym because I'm at the gym for like 6, 7 hours and there's a ton of stuff that we do. And I'm like, people would love to watch this. This is stupid, but it's funny. So, and then I'm also gonna be working on my own little, we call it like Nez Talks, where like we talk about like mental health in string sports because it's not talked about quite enough. We talk about, like, the greats, but we don't talk about, like, what happens when you're disappointed? What do you do when you're, about to quit? Like, how do you not, where do you find the motivation to, like, keep going? So, working on some stuff with that, with my friend Alex, that goes to the gym with me. She's a bodybuilder. So, she has a side of the sport that, like, I don't have insight to. I have the powerlifting strongman. She has the bodybuilding. So, we're kinda, like, working together on stuff like that. And she's also an art therapist. So, it's kinda cool that we kinda have very similar backgrounds. Um, and then, I do wanna shout out my coach always. I love my coach. Team GWO for life. Greek Goliath on Instagram. He's a great guy. If you're looking for coaching too, hit him up. He's a great coach. And then I am sponsored by Cerberus Strength. And I just, they took me from the beginning and they believed in me and they said, hey, we think you're going to be great and we want to help you. And they've always helped me out and they've always took care of me. And as a woman, that's really special because in our sport, we don't have a ton of sponsors. You don't see women, you don't see strong women, as the face of like, these big companies as you see like the guys, so I really appreciate that Cerberus took me on and like trusted me and I'm working with them for the last 4 years, so it's been a long sponsorship, and I really appreciate them. And, shout out to Rogue for, you know, bringing the women to the Rogue Invitational, taking on the women at the Arnold, giving us prize money that we've never seen before. Thank you for, like, doing that for us, Katie and Bill. Really appreciate that. And, just a shout out to all the pro women out there and the women doing the sport. Like, without you guys, it wouldn't be a sport, and we put on a show and we're going to start getting the recognition that we actually deserve in this sport. So I really believe in that.
That's awesome. I'm definitely going to get those links out there for all the people that you gave shout outs to make sure that they know of the love that you're throwing out to them. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
So, Mark, anything else that you have for her tonight?
I'm ready to go lift weights.
Oh,
I'm inspired. Go for a 2-a-day today, Kelsey. No, seriously. I thank you very much for coming on
no,
our
I really
podcast.
appreciate you guys having me on. So
I mean, the story is incredible. I mean, just everything you've been through in your life, the strength that you possess just from when you were dealing with some of the challenges early on, but then how you built upon that strength to build the life that you're at right now is just, I got the ultimate respect for you, Inez. I really do.
thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, there's a difference between looking strong and becoming strong. And your story is a reminder that strength isn't about where you start, it's about what you're willing to build.
Mhm.
So, and that's awesome. So just to kind of close things out, if this conversation resonated with you, make sure you follow, rebuild, and fulfill so you don't miss future episodes. If you're looking for more support or want to be a part of our community, you can find us at S2T Nation on Facebook, or you can check out our website at suffertotougher.org. And remember, you're not broken. Sometimes you're just overloaded, and rebuilding is always possible.